It is May 30th, 2017, and this is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast. Your number one source for Atlanta United news. No, not really.
No, number one source for Atlanta United BS.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for making us the number one iTunes podcast for Atlanta United and somehow a top 5 MLS podcast. Still blows my mind. Now that we got that out of the way, I am Tim Herb, and as always, I'm joined across the way by my co-host,
back in the fold,
Mr. Kevin Bradley. How are you today?
I'm good. It feels good to be back. It feels much better knowing that Dan's not here.
Yeah, it's weird though because we have this little cat sitting in Dan's spot. Zelda taking Dan James's spot. How's it going, Dan?
On the microphone again.
Dan's got a sick spouse and 2 kids to watch after, so he's calling in from Skype. How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, #dedicated.
#blessed. That's us. You guys are you're
Do you know how much work I had to put in to call in last week and maintain any sort of composure to do so?
I think maintaining the composure was the hardest part.
Exactly.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, you're #dedicated, and because of that, we're #blessed. So I'm ready to crack open a cold one with the boys and get started. I mean, we're coming up off of a amazing performance, and also just a spectacular atmosphere at the at Bobby Dodd Stadium against NYCFC.
Revenge.
You know what's funny is
street justice.
Angie looks at me because she didn't get to go to the game. I was at the game with her parents, my future in-laws. Yeah. And it was awesome. That part was awesome. I'll get to that in a minute, but she looks.
You mean our future in-laws?
Yeah. so she looks at me earlier whenever I was watching highlights, and she goes, "Wait, did David Villa even play against us?" I said, "He did."
Got shut down.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the key factors, or really one of the big things to this match was just his absence.
I was so frustrated and irritated whenever I saw the clip of him like talking shit to Almiron as Almiron's walking off the field and like waves him off, like tries to shove him off or whatever because Almiron's like taking his time to get off the field and he's just jarring him the entire time.
Yeah, it was pretty great though.
It was great.
And we already got some comments going on YouTube. Okay, sweet. Brian Diefenbach just said he grilled some brats and made some cheese tots. He's ready.
All ready to crack one open with the boys.
He just cracking
open a brat, just snapping it in half, Kobayashi style.
Eating a Johnsonville brat, Kobayashi style. Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut need to man up and do a Johnsonville brat eating contest.
I'm gonna submit my dad for that.
Yeah. A spaghetti and brat eating contest. So Dan, this was the first game that this season you haven't been able to go to, right?
Well, I wasn't able to go to the first Red Bulls, and then we had the second home game was DC, wasn't it? No, Chicago. So I didn't go to DC or Chicago. I didn't go to
Red Bulls. You've only been to one game.
No, he's been to 2.
Has he been to 2?
Yeah, he went to.
That's right.
He was at the DC.
He got my
game,
ticket, and then he got that's right.
DC, and then the Houston game.
That's right.
I'd love to have been at this game.
This was a good one to go to for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the atmosphere is incredible. Again, it's just
I gotta say the banner this week was one of my favorites. The peach greater than the apple or whatever.
Yeah, it's the peach is mightier than the apple. Yeah, that little baby apple. Yeah, it's great.
I think the DC one has been the best so far, but that one was real cool.
Honestly, I don't even remember what the DC one. I think I was so dejected watching that game.
What? Yeah. I don't remember that one either.
Anyway,
it was where they had the DC, and then they had the Space Invaders coming down. But
nice. I see. So I was telling Kevin, it seems like there's going to be less to talk about, less critical about, because of how good the performance was on Sunday. But
had to kind of eat my words. My call last week was like, "Oh, Almiron, had a great game." I still think this lineup makes it even more difficult to figure out how Joseph fits back into it. And especially after this week as well. But I was like, Almiron going out and balling out of control isn't going to be the norm. And then he goes out and scores 2 and almost gets a hat trick again this week. So the sky's the limit at this point. As long as
he would have scored that hat trick,
as long as defenders keep letting him play it to his left, he's unstoppable
for sure.
And as long as Gressel keeps feeding him with those him and Gressel in tandem, Gressel just feeding it across his body, one touching it on the wing is just because he's pulling two both of the goals he's assisting. Pulls two defenders to the right side of the box and just sets up Almiron to come in with that speed from the top of the 18.
It's been he's been invaluable the past few weeks, and I think it's funny because shout out to Eric from Mouths of the South who came and joined us last week. That was great. Had a really fun time with him. I remember weeks and weeks ago he was just joking around talking about putting Gressel up front, and then sure enough he fits because he did play forward at Providence. He played a little bit of forward in his later years, and sure enough, I mean he's found to me. It might maybe just stature and just his doggedness or whatever you want to say. The way he plays and his relentlessness, that he reminds me so much. I think we said it on the show before, but Jordan Morris from Seattle Sounders,
right? And
he may not have the speed, but he's just relentless, and it's definitely something we need on that wing.
It's a great different dimension that we have because he's got that muscle, and it's what I was thinking was when Martinez comes back. We've got a lot of different options right off the bench. So what I've been hearing from around through the grapevine is Gressel is probably going to be dropped onto the bench when Martinez comes back. With Villalba putting back on the wing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if teams, I was kind of thinking, if you put Gressel on the bench, you're very effective, but you're more effective in a more of a one-dimensional way because you've got speed. We're not necessarily having any of that muscle and doggedness outside from Asad.
Yeah.
So it'll be great he'll just give us another option and a different gear to choose when teams start to figure out the speed and how to counteract us. Because I feel like, things come in cycles. So we started off great, then we hit a lull, and now we've sort of got back to where we need to be. So there's going to be a couple of games where we're going to lose probably one or two in a row where teams have kind of got used to the way we play.
Or I think it might be the opposite where Joseph's coming back and they're having to build that rhythm back in with him, and he's going to have to build up that stamina endurance as well after being out for so long.
To me, he's the type of player that can slot in immediately.
You think so?
I think he could play forward.
Right.
I think even Almiron's out on international duty this weekend, right?
That's true.
So, yeah.
So he may not play against Vancouver.
Which means Almiron's going to be out for 8 weeks whenever he gets injured.
Well, that's the thing though, Dan. It's the international break. I mean, we have two call-ups. We have Brad Guzan, and then we have Miguel Almiron. Carmona didn't make the Chilean squad. And
that's great for us because he's been awesome.
Yeah, he has. And shout out to Carmona for just stepping in and being an enforcer after Greg Garza got thrown to the ground by RJ Allen.
Yeah.
And then so there's a couple things that came out of that, and a lot of people, I mean, obviously the referee didn't really care. He didn't think that there was a foul or anything like that. You watch the replay, it's pretty bad the way that RJ Allen just throws Greg Garza to the ground, and then he comes out today, he gets fined and suspended for that. RJ Allen is going to miss a game. Yeah, so there's actually some
just one game.
He got an undisclosed fine and then a 1-game suspension, and then also Tyrone Mears gets a fine for, I guess, hands to the face and neck of Rodney Wallace.
Yeah,
it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, but still,
just a fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Overall, it seemed like a pretty clean game. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of.
Yeah, it was more jawing than anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. It was jawing towards, especially from the 70th minute on. It just got to be really like.
Yeah, well,
when New York they just crumbled under.
You're playing in a fast-paced game, 2 possession-based teams, 2 pressure-based teams, and you guys are playing in 85-degree heat, open-air stadium, and it's eventually going to get to you. That's one of the things that
was great for me.
Yeah, because you're under the shade.
Yeah, Dan, you really like my seats, huh?
Yeah, your seats are actually really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I was wondering at what point. I guess it really didn't matter after the 30th minute hit, where I was expecting. I was wondering, is New York City going to wilt under this heat?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really matter.
No, it didn't. We're walking in, and the guy,
the student ambassador from Georgia Tech,
he's like, "You got any questions for me?" I'm like, "What's the score going to be?" He goes, 3-0 Atlanta, obviously. And I was like, "You're out of your fucking mind. No way is it going to be 3-0." I was like, maybe 2-1, and then it's 3-0. Or right after I say that, Tim goes 5-0, and then at halftime, I'm like, Tim might be right.
Yeah, it started to hit, and then I was like, "Oh shit!"
I was really happy that we were able to shut them out in the first half. I thought because they got a little threatening towards the end, they had a couple of chances, but if they'd have gotten a goal right before halftime, I think it would have been a whole different, it could have ended up in a draw.
Well, I think it was just really patient play by Atlanta. And we've seen Atlanta get exposed by being overly aggressive and getting burnout by teams that just wait back and wait for them to kind of wear themselves out or be on the defensive and then capitalize on a quick counter as a result of that. And Atlanta did the exact opposite to New York this week. It's like they sat back, they bided their time for 16 minutes or 19 minutes, whatever it was. And like that first 20 minutes, I'm like, God, Atlanta just isn't really, they're not pushing super hard. They're just kind of taking their licks. And then all of a sudden, you see New York start slowing down. And that's when Atlanta just turns it on and is just pushing, and capitalizes on those two quick succession goals by Almiron and Villalba, which, talking positives and negatives, I've got very few negatives this week. But something that's been a negative frequently for me has been Villalba's decision-making whenever he's in a one-on-one position. And to see the placement on that shot that he took from as far away as he did, to not go inside post, to get a one-touch with a defender sliding in, to put it far bar, and just thread the needle between both a sliding defender and a keeper that's outstretched to put that side net was just fucking gorgeous.
The way, dude, I just realized I was wondering what was going on. I usually use my phone to keep up with the YouTube live comments, and we have quite a bit of activity going on right now. So shout out to Andres Castro and Cody Masters, Tokyo Soul, and then Christian for stopping by. And we'll get to some of your comments in a minute. Thank you guys. That was the most important, or the most impressive thing to me about Villalba's goal was, if you watch the replay, he hits it at the exact point the defender is about to hit it.
Right when he's there, he just barely gets right over.
Perfect placement. What is for anybody who plays soccer? Whenever you're coming up facing goal, what are you always told? Opposite net.
Exactly.
Opposite net.
Exactly.
Opposite net. What does he do? He lobs it up there. That's got to do wonders for the guy's confidence, right? Because you're talking about a guy who really only scores on persistence. And I mean, most of his goals have all been persistence and rebound goals. I mean, there were only 4 of them, but I mean.
So what's really been impressed and what I've wanted to see from Villalba, at least in the past 2 weeks. So he was getting a little bit one-dimensional, and we always talk about Toronto, how he was just scoring on breakaways, but last week, he was able to be this little link up cog to keep the offense humming when they were in the final third. So he's added that dimension to his game, and then scoring this goal, which has been unlike any of the goals he's scored before, a lot more of a technical effort from him has really pleased me, especially as he's one of our DPs.
Yeah. The flip side of that too is you just see him and Almiron both. Like, we had those complaints about both of them. Like, just take a one touch, take a shot on goal, and that's the big change over the past 3 weeks. Is that, obviously Almiron the past 2 weeks gets a total of 5 goals in 2 weeks. I mean, that's better than Martinez did in those first 3 weeks. It was 5 goals in 3 weeks. He's got 5 in 2 games, and it's a direct result of him just taking those chances and taking those shots rather than waiting until the last minute to try to play it off. And I think that something came up in training or in coaching where Villalba was told, take a one touch. Almiron was saying, told, take a shot, and we've seen both of those happen.
Yeah, they responded
and
for
be
sure.
successful.
Yeah,
and even if they're not, you're testing the keeper, which then exposes him to opportunities in the future, which I think is what they need to be doing.
Yeah, I think one of the great traits that we have for me, it's awesome that we get to go from our front 4 being guys who run really hard, are persistent and they pass more than they shoot, so that you can then tailor their game to come back and say it seems like a natural trait from both Asad, or actually all three, between Asad, Villalba, and Gressel, where they're just relentless. They're very persistent getting onto the ball, getting onto the first touch that somebody gets. And I mean, you saw that with Villalba. I don't know if that was the second goal or not second goal. He scored the second goal. I think it was the first goal where he heads it up. He's the only one that he looks back as he headed it backwards, and he just ran onto it. He was very, very, very important. So we do have, I want to get to some of these comments. Cody Masters, obviously, hashtag Orlando is not the South. Shout out.
And I love that every iTunes review has come in with that at the tail end. I feel directly responsible for that in some way.
Andres Castro, you're the man. And then, so Tokyo Soul, he says, Tokyo Soul 21 says, Martinez is a better number 9 than Tito by far. The battle is really Gressel versus Tito for the right wing. It's a great problem to have. And then he asks, who's coming in for Almiron, Kratz or Martinez to start? What do you think, Dan? Are we looking at a Kratzkrieg against Vancouver to start the game?
No.
I don't think he'll start. So if Almiron's out, man, I don't know actually.
Well, so here's the thing. Martinez is training this week. There's video of him training. At the press conference after the game this past week, they said that he's been cleared to begin practicing and is training, and it's up to the coaching staff and training staff on how to integrate him. So I don't think he starts. We said that last week. I think he comes in as a super sub at least the first game, if not the first several. But I think that opens up a different dynamic going into the second half, at least, depending on who starts in the first.
Yeah. I would love to see Martinez play, but not start.
Is Peterson still?
Yeah, Peterson's still out. Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, I hate the...
He played 2 games?
Not even. He played against Minnesota, and he warmed up against Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. So, I don't know.
Hopefully we don't put Kim in.
No. I think we put Kratz in.
Yeah.
I think we put Kratz in. I think we maybe
I'd love to see him for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me, I know he keeps getting deployed.
Or do you pull Bloom into the back and move somebody up as a result?
Well,
of that?
I want to get to Bloom in the back in a minute. Because yeah, yikes. Kevin, this is a family podcast.
Not if I'm on it. It's not.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, Kratz gets deployed German for German usually, so he's on the right side. But honestly, don't know, Dan. You've meticulously, analyzed his game more than I have. To me, he seems like somebody who'd be better slotted back into a box-to-box role.
I think he is. He's come on for Almiron, I'm pretty sure, in games. Like, he's been more of a central player to me, I've found. I mean, there's not a lot that we can go on. But yeah, I think with everybody in their position in the lineup that we're currently having, I think the more natural thing to do is just keep them where they are and then just bring in Kratz for Almiron rather than having a total change of the formation.
Yeah, no, part of me wonders the way as good as Carmona's been playing lately, if you don't maybe push him up a little bit. Maybe not necessarily in the hole, but you give him a little bit more of an advanced position and you pull Kratz back with Lorenowitz. Or maybe you play maybe you play a, what would that be, a 4-1-2-3? Where you have Lorenowitz in the stopper position, you have Kratz and Carmona next to each other.
He's our anchor in the mid because of
Tyrone Mears.
Exactly, he's got to be that person to pull Mears and Garza forward because they're going to be so quick to go. And
so let's just say he's really only there to cover Mears. So I think that's never been more evident than the last week.
Yeah, especially the way that blown coverage happened on the back post, which we've been plagued with several goals.
So let's keep it positive. So what were you going to say, Dan? Sorry.
I was thinking that, from what we've seen, Carmona has always been the one pushing forward, and even Lorenowitz, because sometimes they switch off, but Lorenowitz is more defensive, like you're saying. But even to have that support that Carmona's already doing. I mean, he's already there as backup for Almiron if he needs it, but it doesn't seem like Almiron rarely, ever really needs it. So if you had Kratz there, I think Carmona would get a lot more involved in the attack. But I think there would be a switch off between those two.
It honestly wouldn't be that bad, especially on an international break, and we're going across, 4,000 miles. Jay Riddle, he just chimed in and said passing notes in class busted. Yeah, yeah, it's funny. You got actually happened to me.
I forget that.
Quick side note, Jay, this happened to me at work the other day. We're on a conference call on GoToMeeting, and we have a webcam on us, me and my boss, and then we have some people remote, and we're talking, and my boss and I start having a side conversation. So I hit the mute button on the VoIP phone, and then somebody's like, "I saw you do
that click."
No, they saw us because we're on webcam.
That's
it's
right.
exactly like Jay. So it's the second time.
The
in a week
audio
that's
viewers
happened.
do not get to notice how much stuff gets passed around as we're recording, so no one gets talked over.
Yeah. He said you're supposed to make it a paper airplane and throw it in his face. Throw it at his face. So, where were we? I just got sidetracked a little bit.
Mears and Bloom is what we were talking about.
No, Dan, sorry. I lost track. But yes, just more. I want to talk more about positives. Stay with positives.
That's all I've got.
I don't.
Aside from
yeah. So Sunday after the game, we put up a poll at Home Before Dark on Twitter. Home the number B or the letter B, the number 4.
Just let me say the handle.
Yeah,
You're just the
this
worst
man right
at
here.
it.
This man right here. So we actually got a lot of interaction with it, and I was very happy about that. So the man of the match, I said, we tweeted out who's your man of the match, not named Miggy, and the options that because Twitter only lets you put 4 up. So Asad, Tito, Gressel, and LGP, and at 58 votes, overwhelming response for Julian Gressel.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 assists.
Yeah, we actually had somebody say Carmona was. There goes the paper airplane into my face. Somebody else said Carmona, and then we had Poppy Von Trapp, Lutilda, new follower of ours, saying that Lorenowitz. She really liked Lorenowitz's play. I
think Lorenowitz is always just a solid play. And,
I mean,
the one game he was out, it was noticeably vacant and void of a midfield whatsoever.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not looking forward to a game where he's not playing.
I agree with you. Or whenever he's really playing off of a neck injury. Or it was great though, because I think whenever we play a team like NYCFC, we're learning what style of play or how to tailor our own style of play, or at least make offshoots of it to handle certain teams. And I think that we tried to play the same pressing, same fluid formation that we normally do against NYC up in Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
And that didn't really work out. And to your point earlier, we kind of set back and we were a little more methodical.
Right.
We didn't take all the possession. What was it? We had.
That was the thing. Like the stats.
I want to say it was 41% possession for us. Something like that.
It was in the 40s.
It was in New York's credit, but at the same time, they had a few spots that they tried to break us down. Alec Can made a great save on a Davavia shot. And
Alec Can made a couple of really great saves.
Yeah, he's again just proving to be a hard man to unseat.
But I think that not only did he make that really great save against Villa, I think that's why Villa was so quiet, was that anytime he got the ball anywhere near the 18, he was instantly being swarmed, and he had no other support. Like that team play was shut down because they were getting to him before he could play the ball off and set up any sort of team camaraderie inside the box.
I mean, we really shut down Maxi Morales. I think that was we cut off the pipeline.
Well, So NYC defend from the front, right? So as soon as we're able to shut down Villa and Morales, and I think if you shut down those two, Wallace goes as well, then you can just rail on their defense. And as we saw, their defense is terrible. Callan has. Plus for me hating him this match because he was whining constantly about getting fouled, and when he's not even been touched, he's tripping over his own.
Which is how he scored that third goal.
And he was, there were times he couldn't get passes together. He was just, I think there was 2 times I saw he was passing it over to the right back, and it would just go out of bounds. He was having a terrible game.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think why we played a lot better is when we played in New York, we'd never run into a team that had able to suffocate us in the middle. We'd enjoyed pretty good possession throughout the short part of the season that we'd had. And I think part of it was the thinner field as well. So NYC could just lock up the middle, and we didn't have anywhere to go on the wings.
I mean, it's tough to say I'm not buying it because then you see the performance today. But at the same time, like you said, Minnesota had the same dimension field, and whether it was the snow and we just capitalized on that or what.
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, but at that part of the season, you couldn't compare Minnesota to NYCFC.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, you're talking about the second best team in the East, and we're going against them. Yeah,
and Bobby Dodd is still. I mean, it's a little wider.
It's what 115 by 75 as opposed to 110 by 70. Yeah. I think is Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't know what
5 extra feet.
I want to say it's like 25 square yards more is what we have to work with.
Yeah.
You ever follow? What's it? Tegan 11 on Twitter. He does the passing maps. And when you look at the maps for this game, Atlanta is all the way around the wings, and NYFC have still tried to block up the middle.
Oh, so really? That's interesting.
They came in with the same tactics, but we were more versed to deal with that. Well, we've come up against more adversity since we played them before.
Exactly, and I think the difference, too, is that we've switched our formation, which lends itself to playing to the wings as well, where before we were very much locked into the mid-play with Kenwin, who is anchoring the middle the entire time, versus now where we have so much more speed and fluidity on the wings, and you have players drifting to support that with Asad and Almiron in the middle.
Yeah, I think we've just learned to play better with that. I mean, Kenwin, we were still going around the wings with Kenwin, but we would break and he just wouldn't be there.
Yeah. I don't know. Brandon Vasquez to me is still the sub for that, but and Jay, I can't decrypt your emoji hieroglyphics on the YouTube chat.
I think some of the viewers are getting in on the Christmas spirit and drinking along with us.
So, and then we got asked for a shout out. I'm not so sure who this person is. Our boy Surveillance LaFleur says the shout out to Shamie Grayson. I'm not sure who that is.
I think we just got trapped.
Yeah, I think so.
Somebody's getting called now.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. And apologies. Thank you for the caller who left the voicemail. Because of the way that we're having to do the call this week with Dan, I'm unable to play it. I'll put it at the end of the episode.
Screwing everybody over.
Yeah, it's all you.
It's all Kevin's fault.
So apologies. We got a tweet saying, we've got a great podcast community here for Atlanta United, Mouths of the South being another one, Eric on here last week, and their live stream's going on right now. And we definitely don't want you guys to have to choose tonight, but both shows will be on iTunes soon enough. We'll be back next week at regular schedule time. This is all my fault. I had things come up that I couldn't record tomorrow, and since I couldn't record last week, both Tim and Dan obliged. And
thank you guys for watching though. It's always fun.
I may just go watch the Mouths of the South. I didn't know they were going on right now.
Oh wow, our viewers just picked up.
So
word travels fast.
So for the I realize how I laugh really slow because I feel on the podcast because I feel like
blow it out
because I don't want I don't know, I hate laughing into the microphone. But again, for a third straight week of another bird in somebody's ear must have told you Asad stay off the ground
a
couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
you didn't.
He did it once.
He did. Yeah, but it would it kind of was, but he didn't make a deal of it. But at the same time, what I was telling the people around me and Angie's parents too, I was saying that I mean he's bearing the fruits of his discretion or his indiscretions from earlier on in the season. He's very much being the boy who cried wolf.
Right.
Yeah. It's finally coming out. I mean that he's finally he's not been going down as easy the past couple weeks. No. He does, but Dan, he does have to me, it's I would say it's Luis Suarez syndrome, where sure there are some simulations or there's some more embellishments in simulation that go on, but at the same time, he is very good at getting fouled. He's very good at drawing fouls.
He definitely
and because of that, I think he anticipates it a little too much sometimes.
Yeah. So's Almiron, though. I think he's good at getting fouled.
Yeah. Well, Almiron's so tiny, that it's I don't know if he's good. He's also really good at staying on his feet. Like I said, I forget what game. I guess that was the DC United game where Asad wouldn't stay on his feet, and then Almiron gets shoved in the back at the left side of the 18 and is tripping all the way over to the right side and stays on his feet the entire time.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that to me, the difference the past couple weeks has been Villalba being up front and then making room for Gressel on the side. I think those two playing alongside, it's just the front four. The front four have been just incredible the way that they've been playing together. The
front
past few
four,
weeks.
You've got, we had that 1 week that Lorenowitz was out, and then we had 2 weeks where Garza was out. And so I think both of them, whenever they're absent, there's a big difference in the style of play. And
we lost both of the games that Garza was out. Right.
And so it's taken
I guess we drew against Portland.
It took us 7 weeks to find a replacement for Martinez, and I can easily make that argument for why Lorenowitz or Garza are just as valuable to our style of play, where you see balls having to be forced from the backfield up the wing whenever Mears is trying to do that just to give us some sort of opening and movement from the backfield versus Garza being there to do so, and then Bloom not being as successful. We saw a few opportunities where he did, and then again, Assad's having to rotate out and cover for that. So it's taken us 7 weeks to figure out a replacement for Joseph Martinez. I think Lorenowitz and Garza are now linchpins in our success as a result of that.
I agree completely. I think that, I think we're kind of screwed if Lorenowitz gets dropped or if he gets injured or anything like that.
Luckily, I haven't seen anything out. So Garza was my big concern with his hip, and we saw him get taken out for 2 weeks, and he hasn't been nursing it as much the past 2 weeks as he was 3 or 4 weeks ago, where he was getting injured, it seemed like every game, or limping on it in one way or another. And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, which is good.
Yeah. Surveillance making a good observation about the cat being in Dan's seat. So, Jay
over the table.
Are you watching it too, Dan?
Yeah. we gotta get some heads or something up on the wall.
I've got so much stuff to put on the walls, guys. I just don't have time. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen.
We got too much stuff going on, guys. We're getting caught. No, so
Ryan Diefenbach is right. We do need a strong sub for Garza.
I agree, but at the same time,
do you think Garza's even gonna be here next year to find a sub for it?
The thing is, if we had a strong sub for Garza, I'd probably just put him on the other wing instead of Mears.
Okay, so that's
really good point.
That's what I want to get to. So obviously positives, the attack, and pretty much to me there were 2 negative players in this game. The one I think is the most obvious, and we'll get to that in a second. Was anybody else just left feeling wanting with Michael Parkhurst's performance on Sunday?
I can't say that because he was directly responsible for some of the steps against Villa, where he was the first defender putting pressure on Villa in that one shot that he took, where Can saves it, but Parkhurst is the first person to be there to put pressure on him to take that shot. So I can't say that completely. While I say maybe I was wanting a little bit more, he still made some critical plays in that game that were needed when they happened.
So we made the observation a few weeks ago talking about Guzan coming in, and maybe one of the
Guzman.
Maybe one of the strong points about Guzan coming in is that he maybe could show some general leadership abilities out of the back.
Yeah.
And Dan, I don't know if you were watching it all I don't know how the camera angles were whenever the tussle was going on after Garza got thrown to the ground and everybody's getting heated and everything. Where was Parkhurst? He was nowhere to be found. He was in the 6-yard box, and he's
odd because he normally is there.
Sure, but when you have Greg Garza's on the ground, Carmona slides in, makes a silly tackle out of frustration.
Yeah.
He and LGP are both hounding the referees, They're hot-headed.
No,
it's 85
that's the
degrees
captain's
outside,
job at
and
that
the sun's
point.
out.
Yeah.
I'm yelling, "What are you doing, Parkhurst?" Literally yelling that out, and he's just standing in the box, like wanting to stay away from it. I don't understand, as a captain, how he's not pushing them away.
Yeah,
and
he
he's
should
not
be the
talking to
marshal.
referees.
Exactly.
Exactly. And
Good point. Good point.
I don't think. And people make the comment, you know, I said it last week. I don't remember if it was off air or on air, that, I mean, we might need to find a replacement for him next year. I
Yeah,
understand.
it was on the show because Eric's like, I don't know how you're going to get the
Replace the
front
captain.
office to convince them to replace the captain.
No, I
after the
think
first
that
year,
there are plenty of their Bosman transfers from England and from Europe that could fill that role, and we can fill it for a few years. Martin Caceres, maybe.
The reason they got Parkhurst in was because he was a veteran MLS player, and when he was in Columbus, he was a captain. So I think, I mean, there are a lot of examples that I've seen from him that have shown that veteran nous. So, for instance, you know, we talk about Villa being pretty quiet this game, and I think a lot of that was on Parkhurst. He got Parkhurst made that wrestling move on Villa and got yellow carded.
Right.
But if he hadn't,
exactly,
it would have been 3-2.
Exactly. So there's that. Again, the step that he pulls up right before can save. I think I'm wanting more from a leadership and marshaling perspective. I agree.
Is it because he's the only player with veteran leadership other than Mears that really speaks great English?
That's another good point. So my question is, I mean,
I don't know, because I understand.
So who becomes captain if you denounce him as captain? Who do you make your captain at that point?
You make Jeff Lorenowitz the captain.
Lorenowitz, I can get on board.
Jeff Lorenowitz should be our captain,
especially with his role within the midfield as being the perfect blend between both styles and positions of play. That seems to me, that makes perfect sense.
I don't know if Kevin's sphere of influence is really hitting around the country, but Brian Diefenbach said, "Did you see the USMNT video when Guzan got picked up and the chauffeur had a sign that said Guzman?"
No way.
And he looks at the camera and he says, "Did you get?" He looks at the camera like, "Did you get that?"
Does he look in the camera and go, "Orlando's not the South"?
No, seriously, guys. For those of you listening to us or watching us on YouTube, or anybody listening to us, tweet at us. Leave it on the live chat or on Facebook, whatever. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that Michael Parkhurst? I don't mind him as a center back. We don't have have somebody else to put back there right now. Well, and actually, no, I take that back, because Anton Walks, I think, would do a great job in that role. Actually, Dan, Anton Walks is naturally a center defensive mid. What about him coming in and then pushing up Carmona? Putting him in the back and then pushing Carmona up.
He has been on the bench, hasn't he?
Yeah, I want to say he's been on the bench. I want to say he was at least on the bench this last. I saw him warming up. I saw his little bleach dreads warming up.
Dreads. Yeah. Thing is, he's pretty young though, isn't he?
Anton Walks is 20 and he's on loan, so I guess maybe you don't want to invest that much time in him. But at the same time, I thought that he was outstanding whenever he did come in. I want to say that was was that the DC match that he came in and kind of helped stem the tide a little bit?
I don't know. Sure. I want to say Chicago or something.
Oh yeah, you might. It was a home game for sure. Sorry, kind of blanking on it. We don't usually talk about Anton Walks. I mean, Tokyo Soul says the same thing. He says I imagine we'll bring in somebody, bring in Robinson and another guy who speaks Spanish for 2018 to start challenging Parkhurst. And then Jay says that Anton Walks is up in July, so that sucks.
So he's been injured this whole time, but we've got Zach Lloyd. I mean, he's still injured. I mean, he would be someone I imagine who could potentially come. He's
from Dallas? Is that where we got him from? FC Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's 29. But he's been around. I mean, he's a good player. I remember when we picked him up, I was like, oh, good, someone I recognize.
Yeah.
But
God, I never thought about the Lorenowitz role, but that's all I can think about now is because he is that marshal where he is making sure that defense is covered as players are moving up. It's not Parkhurst directing traffic back there. It's him making sure that's being communicated and adjusting his role accordingly. And that is really what a captain should do. It should either be somebody on the back line making sure everyone else is moving forward and pulling back, or somebody in that midfield role that's also doing the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I did see a lot of Parker seems to keep people on side a lot.
Well, there was a lot of offside traps, which were very successful.
No, I think we were very much playing that trap, and it was very much intentional, and we got
were
them.
A little fortunate. I mean,
we got very aggressive with a couple of them. We were on like the 45-yard line trying to set offensive traps or offside traps.
Yeah. That's yeah, I don't know. Jay says Kratz told him that Joseph speaks 5 languages.
What?
He could be the vice captain.
Martinez?
Yeah, I don't.
Wow.
I don't like calling him Joseph or Martinez. I think J Mart is where it goes.
God,
we had K Mart for Kenyon Martin up in New York and New Jersey. I think it's J Mart.
Call him Joey Martin.
I guess it would really be Jota Mart. Yeah.
Stop.
Anyway.
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, okay, so take Parkhurst out of it. The only other negative, and everybody else said it, and we have people on the chat saying that Tyrone Mears cost Alec Can a clean sheet because we're up in our own half, or up in the attacking half, and Mears gives the ball away.
Yep.
And then it ends up
does not cover back post. Even
ends up
by the time it gets back there, he's not even looking at, like, that is your fucking side to defend, and you've let someone sneak in behind you over a 25-yard stretch. Like, what are you doing? He's not manning anyone. It's the exact same way that
Bloom. It happened.
Exactly.
Bloom. I mean,
exactly.
When I was 10 years old, I played right back, and the first thing I was told to do is stay with your man.
Stay with your man.
Side and stay with your man.
Not just that, but who's got back post? Back post is always like, you can't just leave that wide open for somebody to expose, particularly on a counter like that. Like, you have to be aware as a defender on where the strikers are coming from. And he has, I could justify it had he picked up somebody or been within the vicinity of someone, but he is nowhere near.
He's good 10 yards away.
Exactly. Like, it's inexcusable for that position to be a critical point within the squad. Like, I cannot say that same thing. I mean,
Bloom. So there is a comparison to be made, right? Because Bloom cost us 2 points against Portland.
Right.
But I think that's a little more defensible than what Mears did, because sure, he gave away a free kick and there was a set piece. He was closer to the ball and actually trying to man up, and he didn't get, to me, he wasn't out of position like Mears was. And I think
that is a set piece versus in play, ball in motion. Like, that is your position. That is your responsibility, is to get that back post and to pick up that last defender. Nobody else is paying attention to that. That is your role. That is your zone, and you are nowhere to be found to cover it. That's a complete lack of ability on your part.
So Dan, I mean, is there any chance that we see Tyrone Mears get sat for this weekend's game?
I would love to see that. I mean, I know you asked Dan, but I'm
3 weeks. I'm chomping at the bit for it. I've been asking for it for a few weeks.
Last week I didn't see it as much because I didn't watch as much of the last game just because I was out of town. But the week before that, I said, Mears was the weakest part of that squad, and that performance up on the, like, everywhere he was at, he just seemed to be unsuccessful. I mean, he has one really good cut, and then every cross seems out of play. Every run, he's not on it. I mean, it just, I think he should be benched. Dan, go ahead.
No, I don't think he'll be benched.
Yeah, Tokyo Soul makes a good point. And I mean, I've granted, Kevin and I have not watched MLS a whole lot. He says Bloom and Mears are career, quote unquote, okay players. He said we're giving Bloom too much credit because we haven't seen him as much.
It's a good point.
He said, I promise you, Bloom is not much of an upgrade. To me, though, he's more of a defensive player than Mears is.
Yeah,
I think he stays the course a little more than Mears.
And we saw that whenever he was subbed in for Garza, and I think that's where Garza lends that.
I mean,
strength.
he shut Piatti down, right?
Exactly, and I think Garza is much more successful as a defender that's making those runs up to the top of the 18 and constantly playing that back and forth role than Mears has been over the past 4 weeks. So to that point, like, yes, they're both okay players, but I would rather an okay player that's at least okay in their defensive role rather than not really that great in either their defensive or their offensive role, whenever that's the way that this team is built to play both. So
Yeah,
especially whenever you've got the other wing with Garza that's willing to go up and make those plays and make those runs the thing. So successfully.
Garza's good baseline to baseline like that.
Exactly.
He is good, or goal line to goal line like that. He is good like that. Mears tries to do that. I think he's getting a little too old, and he's not able to do that. He's not able to track back and cover as well as well as he should.
Right. So that's why I think Bloom makes a better fit there, because he at least is more opportunistic in those moves and is going to be more strategic in that style of play. So great point, though. I mean, it's the same thing with Kenwin. Whenever we were talking about having Kenwin in as a starter, it was that we saw him in as a great change of pace player, and that does not necessarily work for 90 minutes. But I still think that there's an opportunity to capitalize on in that position that Mears is playing.
I still want to see Mikey Ambrose play a little bit, but that's just me.
I don't think Mears is going to start, and then if he gets needs to get subbed out, then you could either bring on Bloom or Ambrose. I don't think he's not going to sit on the bench to start off with. I don't think.
Do you guys have anything else?
The other thing is we compare him to Garza, and they're totally different players. So I mean,
Mears
we love
or Bloom?
Garza. We love that he attacks, but just Mears isn't that type of guy.
No, he's not, and that's been really evident anytime he's been in that position to make that play.
To be fair, when I think back about Bloom, the only mark on him that I put on him is the free kick and goal against Portland. But I mean, that's it. I mean, that's like 2 minutes of bad play.
You can't take away that he shut down two of the most influential players that we've gone up against in Piatti and Valeri. I mean, Valeri was completely silent in that Portland game.
Yeah. So Tim,
I don't think Valeri was all Bloom though.
I mean, Valeri goes around. I guess maybe it was a team effort, because he does kind of wander or go across. So yeah, and then I guess a couple more things. We got more comments, but thank you guys for that. In terms of this game, I don't really have much more past that.
I don't either.
Dan?
Callens is terrible for NYFC. He is awful.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, I didn't like NYC anyway. Even Vieira was getting on my nerves, and I don't mind him that much.
Yeah, Patrick Vieira was.
What happens when your team plays another team?
I think he's getting a little too big for his britches. Anyway, he's one of the greatest defensive midfielders ever, right, Dan? So I guess he has a little bit of. Hey,
Gianfranco Zola was a great player, but
he's a shit manager. God, he's not good. So one last thing, Brian Diefenbach says. How about Can's improvement in distribution? He said, I noticed I don't get as nervous with the ball at his feet. And I think that's great. I mean, for anybody who watched the Liverpool game and Brad Guzan trying to even get in, goal kick distribution, it was just really bad. He's pushing it out outside of.
Well, I think that's come with the time and the chemistry that he's built up with that back line, whereas we saw that like the first game, I think was very much first two games, I'd even argue, was very much nerves and a hesitancy based on him. And then he realized that he needed to pick that up. And then it was the defense lacking him to clear the box to give him a run to make the play to. Now those both seem to be in sync. The defense is clearing the box and giving him runs to make a play out to, and he feels much more comfortable in that role.
Yeah, he's making a transition. It was great, right? So we saw him the first 2 weeks of the season looked really shaky, trying to rush things out of the back.
Right.
And now, and I want to say it was I'll shout out to Colin, one of the guys next to us in our section. He was saying that he doesn't get the ball out very quick. He could get it out quicker. And I was saying that that's a great point, but it's also good that he's transitioning that way, that he's got it to where he's comfortable and he can actually get the ball to people's feet. Actually, he really only distributes it to one side. If you notice, he opens up his left foot pretty wide and gets a.
Well, that's the same thing with Almiron. So.
Yeah, no, but I'd rather him do that and then get comfortable, and then he's not rushing the ball, and then he could start working on getting quick distribution out there. Couple more things. What are the odds of us keep Garza next year? He's so consistent. I hate to see him go. That's Alex Johnson. I don't know if it's really up to us. I mean, Tijuana, they really loaned him out, I think, because of his injuries.
Right.
And if he stays healthy, he plays really well this season.
I think he's gone.
I mean, Dan, I don't know that we can even get him. At this point, he would have to be a DP, I think, the way that he's playing.
I don't know about a DP.
I mean,
but
he's arguably the best.
Potentially,
He's arguably he's the best left back in the MLS, I would say, that I've seen play.
Zusi, maybe?
Zusi plays right back, doesn't he?
I thought he was left back.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up.
I may be wrong.
I'm unprepared as usual.
Yeah.
I don't know about that statement, Tim. But I think he would earn mid to higher contract.
Yeah. So I guess maybe.
If you could choose between Asad and Garza, who would you keep?
I would keep Greg Garza. Because you don't have anybody waiting in the wings to take that position in a few years. I think we could bide our time and put somebody else in where Asad is. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely converted over to an Asad fan, but we have Andrew Carlton who can end up moving into that role. Whereas I don't know how you replace Greg Garza. then the next thing the next left back we have is either Bloom or Mikey Ambrose, and we haven't seen enough. We saw 10 minutes of him, and that's it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't see where Zusi's
at. Yeah, everybody in the comments section is saying they would
Beckerman, but I don't know where Beckerman's at either.
Yeah, everybody in the comments section is saying that they would take Garza in that, no question. Yeah. So I know.
Wow. So I would take Asad because I think.
Oh, I would definitely take Asad as well.
Garza's play is a nice to have. But
the age thing is
not everybody can do that.
Well, no, he's
a good one
like
to have,
apart.
But I think Asad, it's better to have more wingers, I feel, on your bench because they're the ones who burn more energy throughout a game.
I mean, you say that, but then look at the way Garza plays all game.
Yeah. Right, but that's the thing is you can easily swap Garza out for Bloom or Ambrose. They don't have to bomb up and down all the time.
But then we wouldn't have the Garza strip on the left side of the field.
Exactly. And also, where are all those long sleeve shirts going to go that Atlanta United's bought for him all season?
That's true.
No, Dan, but I mean, you can honestly make the case where you put in whenever he's healthy, Jacob Peterson in Asad's role. Yeah, we're getting kind of close. We have about 14 minutes left on the show.
Yeah, but Peterson's 31 and Asad's 22.
It's true, but you can also find somebody else in a loan situation. I think that Velez Sarsfield is gonna, kind of rush him out of the club. I think they were quick to rush him out of the club from what I understand to get him to us, and then I think we'll be able to get him and get him in under and not be a DP. So we have
so we got Vancouver this week. Tim, it's your duty now to educate us because Dan and I are both in the same field. So none of us watched. Dan, did you watch the highlights tonight? Because we did not get a chance to. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say, even though I didn't watch any of the highlights, I'm going to put Villalba's goal of the week for me, just because of placement and one touch with a defender sliding in. I didn't see any other goals, but
there was a great team goal by RSL. And between João Plata, I can't remember who it was playing on the right, but it was a give and go and give and go and give and score. It was like 4 back-to-back passes inside of the 18 that ended up, João Plata just ended up putting a little touch on it to get it in.
Dan, goal of the week?
I'll go with Villalba.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great, and I'm wearing the man shirt right now.
That's it. Bijalba.
So Vancouver, yeah.
Yes.
I've got to watch them a little bit. I haven't got to watch a full game. I've watched their highlights a good bit. I've always been a big Freddie Montero fan. I know I say that I never watched MLS, but whenever I did watch MLS, it would be usually Seattle. Watching Freddie Montero and Clint Dempsey, the little bit of time that they spent together. And he's a great player. I mean, he's still, I think, late 20s. He was Columbia international at a certain point. He's to me, he's one of the better forwards in the MLS. He's only on loan right now from, I can't remember the team. It's a Chinese league team. I think he's going over there to make his money before he ends his career. But we have two people to really watch out for. It's between him and they have a playmaker in the hole playing a central attacking midfield role in Christian Teixeira. And aside from Teixeira missing a penalty to tie the game.
So they just took down Sporting KC, who's leading the West right now. I didn't watch the highlights of it, but that's pretty significant accomplishment in my opinion.
Yeah, when was that? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
And then they lost this past weekend.
no, that was their last game with Sporting KC. Right?
No.
Am I missing something? I am so unprepared.
No. Because Teixeira could have tied the game up on Sunday or Saturday.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
They lost to DC United. You're right.
It was DC. Oh yeah, and then that player from DC, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who got suspended. He actually got fined the week before for simulation,
That's right.
and then ended up in one of the worst called penalties I've ever seen in my life. Get a penalty against Vancouver, slotted and
that's how they ended up.
Lamar Nagel ended up scoring.
I read an article about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Teixeira in stoppage time in the 95th minute hits post.
So ridiculous.
It was the soccer gods weren't with him as it were, as the MLS announcer was saying. But and I think that Montero ended up hitting post, I think, too. But the team's dangerous. And we have a little bit of insight too. Yeah, I mean Jay's saying the same thing. He said they're puzzling to watch.
Yeah,
he said they have two wild cards up front. Or I mean, those two players are just outstanding. I mean, we got to really mind our P's and Q's. But if we work them in a methodical way like we did for the most part, there were some scrambles that I wasn't too happy with this weekend against NYCFC. But if we apply the same treatment we did to Jack Harrison and to Villa and to Maxi Morales, I think we'll be all right against Vancouver.
So the good news is we're at least back in the hunt. I mean, we were talking 3 weeks ago about how we were going to make up an 11-point deficit just to get back into this thing. And now we're 2 points removed from a 3-way tie for third. So
yeah. And you're talking about, we have 2 games in hand against, with Columbus and with New York Red Bulls. Mm-hmm. And then we have a game in hand.
One behind.
And then
Orlando.
Yeah. One against Orlando. And then if we make the 3 points up, we won't make those points up and we won't make those games up until September. But I mean,
well, by then we'll have 2 games that we've beaten Orlando. So
it'll
be okay
for sure. But theoretically,
so we'll jump those 6 points.
Yeah. Theoretically, if we win that game and we make up those 3 points or make up that game with those 3 points, we'd end up jumping Orlando. Right.
That said, I'm a little disappointed that we're having to jump conferences. And so, or is it conference or division in MLS? Conference, yeah.
I'm talking about going and playing against the West.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I think jumping somebody within our own
great.
conference.
I think it's great right now because
I mean it's great, but
we can get those 3 points against Vancouver, and I think they're a vulnerable team for sure. Everybody in the West to me is vulnerable. I mean Seattle,
especially Portland over the past couple of weeks, we've seen them just completely in free fall. It's kind of tough to see right now.
Did you see Seattle's goal against Portland?
I did.
So it just goes to prove that it's not just Liam Ridgewell who likes to wrestle. It's their other players as well.
Exactly.
I mean,
Portland.
Yeah, I was watching the highlights, and Angie looks at me. She's like, "Was he getting bear hugged and still scored that goal?" I was like, "Roll Dan, yeah."
Oh yeah,
ended up scoring that goal.
Oh yeah,
that was great. And they cut away before, at least in the highlights. I watched that game live, and they cut away on the highlights. There was probably another like 5-10 seconds of him being held back.
Jesus.
But predictions this weekend?
I know very little, so I'm going to say on the road, I'll go draw 1-1.
Dan?
Damn it, Kevin. I was going to say that. I'd say I don't know. I think we could. I'm going to say 2-0. Okay. Wait, yeah, but Almiron's not playing, right?
Nope.
No, Almiron's not playing. At least in my understanding, I mean, he got called up and it's an international break. I know their game isn't until the 6th, so there's no way he's not down with Paraguay right now.
Dan, so
we're not 6th. Wow. So I would say I'll go 2-1 Atlanta.
All right.
We
got a prediction
in.
Writing
this down?
Yeah, I am. Tim, before you read his, what's yours?
What did Dan say?
2-1 Atlanta.
I'll say 2-0. I'll say 2-0 Atlanta. Okay. I think that Villalba gets both of the goals.
Ooh, well, the way if he puts a touch on it like he did this week.
Yeah, I think this last weekend's probably did a number for his confidence.
I could see him and Gressel both getting one this week.
Did you see Kratz? Almost.
Shut up. Yes, we all saw it, Dan.
The Kratz Krieg. Jay Riddle 4-2 Atlanta. I like that prediction
too.
So we have a couple just some housekeeping, really.
Yeah.
Like I said, we couldn't play the voicemail because we have a call in right now. I'm using my phone for Skype, but we had just because of the atmosphere, I wanted to at the stadium, and it's a question we get a lot from people around the city that don't really listen or watch a lot of soccer. Jack Stokes put on our YouTube video from last week. He said, "How long is it going to last?" As the quotes, I think in context, talking about some of the discussion we had last week, and I think it's just going to be pertinent all year. He says, "Lifetime in Atlanta, 32 years. I've never been to a regular season game for any team that feels like an Atlanta United match feels like. The energy is like a concert mixed with a parade." He said it felt like the city landed a man on the moon during that first match, and the tone is barely diminished. We're creating new fans, converts to the sport itself, just because they show up and feel that. People drive from Augusta in South Georgia. They come 3+ hours for a match, not going anywhere. I agree with you completely on that.
I think it's because of stuff like this. I mean, it's constantly people talking and voicing how fun it is to go. And somehow that management and marketing office has been able to capitalize on Atlanta as a city in sports form. Like, it's not the good old boys club. It's not the new kids on the block. Like it is a true representation of this city in every way. And so to that point, we have some stuff in the works for those of you that are looking to find out about supporter sections or supporters groups and stuff like that. We got a couple things that we're kind of working on. A guy that we mentioned on the show, Jay Riddle, is going to be a part of that, as well as some of the other founders for some of those supporters groups. And we'll try to get you guys filled in so you can make a decision if you're thinking about joining a supporters group, what each one of them offers and what they can bring to the table. So we did get a couple of reviews this week on iTunes. So that's how many weeks is that now? 6, 7?
Yeah, and we mentioned just one last thing because we got flooded with predictions for the game as we got away from it. So Andres Castro says, "I'm seeing 2-0 for Atlanta." We got Brian Diefenbach saying 2-1 Atlanta. Andres says he's going to the game in Orlando. That's another thing we want to talk to some of you guys about that. We're going to hear some of your opinions on that. So we have the two reviews.
So we got 2 reviews this week.
Hashtag Orlando's not the South.
Yeah, so you want to read the first one and I'll read the second one?
Yep. The subject is Set Tata Free by TAOK. Shout out to you, 5-star review. Said I've been to every game this season, in parentheses, except for Montreal. That's impressive because of the travel
living
involved.
My dream.
Yeah.
No
he said, and this podcast has been deeply ingrained into my pregame ritual. That makes me want to cry. I like these guys because I feel as though they are like me, watch the Premier League with regularity, but didn't have a team to call their own in the MLS until Atlanta United. So they also don't know a lot about MLS like myself. So when they learn something new, so do I. Definitely give this a listen if you are an Atlanta United fan. It also goes without saying, and but I'm going to continue to say it until my dying day. Orlando is not the South.
That's fucking right.
As we discussed this Sunday, Orlando didn't get burned down multiple times during the Civil War.
Exactly.
The buck stops here.
Yeah.
Some developer needed to build something.
Exactly. So again, back to why Atlanta's been, or at least what I think has been so great about Atlanta United, is this community and people talking to each other and inspiring or getting other people hooked on the atmosphere and getting them to come out to the game. That's exactly what's taking place within the YouTube stream and our iTunes review. So the other review we got this week was from Ray_Mysterio. And the title
619.
The title is entertaining and informative in that order, smiley face. So TAOK previous review. So we've got conversations within reviews now, which I fucking love. TAOK previous review said it well. I watched BPL, Coys, and some other leagues around the world.
COYS. Come on, you Spurs.
Shut up. And some other leagues around the world, but never MLS until this year. Eric was a great guest on this last episode. Kevin was missed, but good to hear him on the call-ins. Kind of forgot about that second one. Can't wait till this Sunday versus NYCFC. Pull that W, so all worth it. 2 other ATLians and I are making the trip to Vancouver the following weekend and will spread the love of the South. Hashtag Orlando is not the South.
So Rey Mysterio, please tweet at us or send us a DM if we follow you on Twitter. I would absolutely love to have you call in on Skype next week.
Absolutely.
And you or the two buddies that you have, we would love to hear what you guys have to say about the trip, and then also just the game in general. I think that's impressive. You guys are being able to go.
And your best Orlando trash talk. So that said, we got anything else this week? I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I think all legal obligations have been filled.
That's
I think
it.
that
Dan, man, next week is just going to be a homecoming for us. We're going to bro it out so hard next week.
you guys are going to get so drunk.
I'm going to go buy a bottle
I'm not even going to wear pants next week.
I'm going to go buy a bottle this weekend just for you. So, so thanks for checking us out, guys. Again, you don't have to choose between us or any of the other podcasts that support Atlanta United. You can find all of us on iTunes. You can find all of Home Before Dark on Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, everywhere. Tim, where can they find you at on Twitter?
You can find me at Tim Herb, but I tweet from the show page more than anything.
That's right. Dan, where can they find you at?
At DNJMS.
You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC, the number 1 TECT, collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. We'll see you guys next week. As always, be home before dark.
Boom.